The morning began quietly at Falcon Ridge Military Base. The sky was calm, the air thin and cold, and soldiers moved in their normal routine. No one expected anything unusual that day, but everything changed at 9:17 a.m. Without warning, the sky darkened. Birds scattered. Winds shifted. The ground vibrated. People looked up in confusion, and then in fear. A massive shadow covered the entire base so large, it looked like a floating city. The sun disappeared behind it. Soldiers ran out from buildings, staring at the sky with wide eyes. Even trained officers froze for a moment. A giant alien ship had arrived. It didn't come slowly. It didn't offer a warning. It simply appeared above the base with a deep, echoing hum that vibrated in everyone's bones. The ship's lower doors opened like a glowing iris. Strange lights spilled over the base, painting everything in No one had ever seen anything like it, not even the highest-ranking generals. The base alarms started screaming across the entire area, and a mechanical voice announced unidentified vessel. All personnel to defensive positions. But people didn't move. They were too shocked. Commander Hale stepped out of the main command building. He was one of the most respected leaders on Earth, calm, sharp, and fearless. But even he narrowed his eyes at the sight above him. He had seen alien ships before, but nothing of this size or design. This ship belonged to the Varkan Empire. They were known across the stars for valuing one thing more than everything else: precision. To the Varkans, accuracy was a religion. They believed every action, every movement, every strike should be perfect. Their snipers were feared across galaxies, but they had never visited Earth. Like this, the glowing door of the alien ship formed a ramp to the ground. Heavy steps echoed as an alien officer emerged, tall, armored, and almost machine-like. His skin shimmered like a metallic stone, and his eyes glowed with a cold green light. People stepped back in fear. Some dropped their weapons. No one dared to fire. The alien officer walked forward slowly, scanning the soldiers and civilians around him. He stopped only when he reached Commander Hale. For a moment, no one spoke. The wind was the only sound. Then the alien's voice boomed. "Human Commander, present to us your deadliest sniper." His voice was deep, vibrating through every building, every vehicle, every person. It wasn't a request. It was a demand. The alien officer stared at Hale with an expression impossible to read, part challenge, part curiosity, part threat. Soldiers looked at each other nervously. Who would Hale choose? Would it be Earth's best marksman? A trained specialist? A hidden military legend? Everyone waited, but Hale did not answer immediately. He studied the alien's face. He studied the glowing armor. And then, slowly, he smiled, just a small, confident curve of his lips. A smile that confused everyone around him. The alien officer noticed the smile and became annoyed. "Do not delay," he growled. "We request your best. We will test your strongest weapon." Everyone expected Hale to name a soldier famous for impossible shots, a secret sniper trained for war, someone with years of experience and unmatched aim. But instead, Hale turned his head to look at the crowd standing behind him. Standing among the civilians was a young man holding a cup of coffee. His name was Evan. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't trained. He was simply a tech worker who happened to be on the base for routine repairs. He looked confused, even scared, as the alien ship's giant shadow covered him. And then, something unbelievable happened. Commander Hale raised his hand and pointed directly at Evan. The entire crowd gasped at once. Evan's coffee nearly slipped from his hand. The alien officer stared in disbelief. His glowing eyes widened. His voice cracked with confusion. "This is your sniper." Hale kept smiling, calm and steady. "Pick any civilian," he said. "They don't miss." Those words hit the alien officer like a shockwave. He stood frozen, processing the statement. The soldiers around Hale exchanged confused whispers. Even Evan himself shook his head slightly, as if he believed this had to be some mistake. But Hale didn't remove his gaze from the alien officer. There was no fear in his expression, only confidence. The alien officer walked slowly toward Evan, studying him. Evan stepped back nervously. He wasn't built like a soldier. He didn't have a weapon. He wasn't ready for any kind of fight. He was just normal. This made the aliens even more suspicious. Why would humans offer a regular person for something so important? What were they hiding? Was this a trick, a trap, or something more dangerous? The alien officer turned back to Hale. "Human has no armor, no weapon, no training." Hale shrugged gently. "You asked for our deadliest sniper, and I gave you one." A cold silence spread over the base. Even the air felt heavier. The alien officer glanced at his soldiers on the ship's upper deck. They looked confused too. Nothing in the Varkan Empire's long history had prepared them for this response. Humans offering a civilian. Why? What secret did humans have? Evan swallowed nervously. He tried to hide the tremble in his hands, but it was clear he was terrified. Yet Hale placed a steady hand on Evan's shoulder and whispered, "Trust me." The alien officer stepped forward again. "Then we will test him." His voice echoed like thunder. And just like that, the fate of Earth, its pride, its strength, its future rested on the shoulders of a completely ordinary man. A man who didn't even know why he had been chosen. A man holding a warm coffee cup, while an alien empire waited to test him. The air around Falcon Ridge Base felt heavier after the alien officer declared the test. Soldiers kept their distance, unsure whether to run, fight, or simply watch the strange moment unfolding in front of them. The giant Varkan ship floated silently above the base like a dark moon, its glowing lines and mechanical veins pulsing with quiet energy. Evan stood frozen, still holding his coffee cup. His heartbeat felt too loud inside his chest, like a drum echoing against metal walls. He wasn't a fighter, and his brain kept repeating one question: why me? Commander Hale didn't answer that question, at least, not yet. He simply walked forward to stand between Evan and the alien officer, making sure the young civilian didn't collapse from shock. The alien officer spread his metallic wings, blade-like structures that unfolded from his armor. The wings emitted a soft blue glow as he spoke. "You humans hide something," he declared. "Your races across the galaxy whisper about a strange talent your species has. Rumors say humans never miss." A few soldiers gasped. Some even exchanged worried glances. Until now, Earth believed those were only stories told by smaller alien factions, half truth, half fear. But the Varkan Empire didn't travel light years because of rumors. Commander Hale stayed quiet, his expression unreadable. Calm. Almost too calm for the situation. The alien officer continued speaking, his tone sharper. "Our empire values precision above all things. We train for decades. We calculate every shot, every breath, every angle." He raised a long metal finger and pointed at Evan. "Yet other species claim that any random human civilian can match us." Evan felt his stomach twist. This entire thing was insane. He wasn't a marksman, he wasn't even good at video games that involved aiming. All he wanted was to repair a few computers, finish his shift, and go home. Instead, he was now the center of attention for an alien empire that looked ready to judge Earth's fate based on his abilities. But Hale finally looked at him and spoke gently. "Evan, walk with me." The commander led him a few steps away from the alien officer. The base around them buzzed with whispers. Some soldiers seemed angry that a civilian was chosen. Others seemed confused. A few simply watched with fear in their eyes. Evan turned to Hale, voice shaking. "Sir, I don't understand. I can't do this. I'm not a sniper." Hale sighed softly, as if he expected this reaction. "Evan, listen carefully," he said. "Humans evolved differently from other species. Long before cities, before tools, before written words, your ancestors survived by tracking, aiming, predicting." Evan stared blankly. That didn't make sense to him. Hale continued. "The Varkans think skill comes only from training. They don't understand instinct. They don't understand human focus." The commander pointed toward the distant forest beyond the base. "For thousands of years, humans threw stones, spears, sticks, anything they could find at moving targets. Your brain learned to predict where something will be, not where it is." Evan swallowed. He wasn't sure if this was supposed to help or make him more afraid. The alien officer approached again, his boots hitting the ground with a heavy metallic thud. He looked at Hale with suspicion. "Your explanation does not satisfy us. We will conduct our own test." The alien tapped his wrist device, and the ground between them trembled. From the ship descended 10 floating spheres, silver drones the size of lemons, each one glowing with blue light. They made no sound, yet the air around them rippled slightly as they moved. Evan stepped back. These were training drones, alien training drones, used by the Varkan Empire's elite marksmen. The alien officer raised his arm, and the drones responded instantly, lifting higher into the air. "Your civilian will shoot these targets," he said. 10 shots, 30 seconds. Evan nearly choked on air. "I've never fired a gun." The alien officer's eyes glowed brighter. "Then your commander has doomed your world." Gasps rose from soldiers nearby. Some reached for their weapons, but Hale gestured for them to stand down. "Give him the weapon," Hale said calmly. A soldier brought a sleek black rifle, Wraith-made light and modern. Evan stared at it like it was a poisonous snake. "Sir, I don't know how to use this," Evan whispered. Hal placed the rifle gently into his hands. "Point, breathe, trust your instincts." Evan's hands shook violently. The metal felt cold and heavy. The trigger looked far too small for the responsibility placed upon it. The alien officer watched closely, eager to observe human ability. "Begin the test," he ordered. The moment the words left his mouth, the drones shot into the air like lightning. They moved impossibly fast, spinning, darting around like angry insects made of metal and light. Evan's eyes couldn't keep up. He had trouble even tracking 1, let alone 10. The alien timer began counting. 30 seconds, 29, 28. Evan's breathing became shallow. Sweat dripped down his forehead. The world around him blurred. But then Hale placed a gentle hand on Evan's back. "Look," he said softly, not with fear, with instinct. The commander's voice cut through the panic. Steadier than steel. Evan focused again. Something shifted. The shaking in his hands slowed. His breathing steadied. The panic in his chest faded just enough for him to aim. He didn't think, he didn't calculate, he just felt. His ancestors hunted moving prey. His brain understood motion better than he realized. He lifted the rifle and fired. Bang. A drone exploded into sparks. The alien officer's eyes widened. Evan didn't stop. He moved the rifle smoothly, following a strange rhythm he didn't know he had. Bang. Second drone. Down. Bang. Third. The aliens whispered amongst themselves. The humans stared in disbelief. Commander Hale's smile slowly returned. He knew what was happening. Human instinct was waking up. Evan fired again and again. Each bullet hit. Each shot perfect. Each drone destroyed. When the timer hit 11 seconds, the final drone exploded in a burst of blue light. Silence fell across the base. The Varkan officer stood still, unable to speak. Evan lowered the rifle, breathing heavy, not fully understanding what he had just done. Commander Hale spoke first. Now you see why I said, pick any civilian. The silence after Evan's final shot felt heavier than the dark ship floating above the base. Even the wind paused, as if the world was waiting to understand what had just happened. 10 drones, 10 impossible targets, 10 perfect hits, and all from a man who had never held a rifle before today. Yet Evan was not celebrating. His hands trembled as he lowered the weapon, and his heartbeat still pounded in his ears like distant thunder. He felt lightheaded, dizzy, almost disconnected from what he'd done, as if someone else had taken the shots through him. Commander Hale stepped beside him, steady and calm. Breathe. Evan, he said quietly, your body just did something extraordinary. It needs a moment. The young man nodded weakly, trying to control his shaking. Across from them, the alien officer, Vornak, stood completely still. His glowing green eyes flickered in disbelief, as the silver fragments of the drones faded into the air like dying fireflies. Behind him, several other Varkan soldiers marched down the ramp of the great ship. Their armor clicked softly, their strange wings folded close to their backs. They whispered to each other in their languid sharp metallic sounds that echoed across the base. Vornak finally turned toward his soldiers. Record the data, he commanded. The human civilians succeeded. One alien, taller than the others, stepped forward. Commander Vornak, that should not be possible. Those drones target unpredictably. Even our trained elites struggle with 7 or 8. Vornak cut him off with a raised hand. I witnessed perfection. 10 hits, 0 misses. The human did it in less than half the required time. The tall alien looked at Ivana, fragile human, sweating, shaking, clutching a rifle like a child holding a heavy bookhand. A chill ran through him. Then the rumors were true, he whispered. Evan heard that. His knees weakened. Rumors. About humans? What rumors? He looked to Commander Hale, hoping for answers. But Hale's expression revealed nothing. Not fear, not worry, only quiet confidence. But Vornak wasn't finished. He stepped closer to Evan, his armor humming softly with energy. Human, civilian, explain. Evan blinked in confusion. Explain what? How did you achieve precision? Without training, without augmentation, without years of discipline? Vornak asked. Evan swallowed hard. I don't know. I just aimed and shot. The alien officer stared deep into Evan's eyes, searching for something: truth, deception, or maybe the secret behind human instinct. After a long moment, Vornak stepped back. The test is not complete, he announced. Evan's stomach dropped. Not complete. Hale raised an eyebrow. You said 10 shots, Vornak, 10 targets. Evan completed the trial, exactly as requested, but Vornak shook his head. Those were basic drones. A murmur ran through the humans. Soldiers tightened their grips on their rifles. Some civilians backed away nervously. Vornak raised his hand again, and the hum of the ship changed deeper, sharper. Like a distant warning siren, from the ship's lower deck descended something much larger. A spherical machine, the size of a car tire, surrounded by rotating metal rings. Blue energy crackled around it as it hovered in the air. Hale's eyes narrowed. A Varkan hunter orb. The nearby soldiers tensed. Even Evan felt the air grow colder around them. The hunter orb wasn't for training. It was for war. Vornak's voice grew solemn. This device is used to evaluate the precision of our highest-ranking marksmen. If your claim is true, your civilians should manage at least 1 hit. Evan's knees almost buckled. 1 hit on that thing. The orb vibrated, then shot into the air with incredible speed. It didn't move like the drones. It moved like a thinking creature, circling, dipping, weaving, vanishing behind structures, reappearing with explosive bursts of speed. It didn't follow patterns. It read movements. It predicted aim. It hunted the hunter. Commander Hale turned to Evan and spoke softly. You don't have to beat it, just hit it once. Vornak overheard. Yes, if he strikes it a single time, even once, I will consider it enough proof. Evan's ears rang. Sweat dripped from his face. The rifle in his hands felt 10 times heavier. Fear tried to take over again. I can't do this. I'm not a soldier. This is impossible. But Hale leaned closer. Remember what you felt with the drones. Evan nodded slowly. That strange calm, that moment when everything slowed down, when instinct took control. Maybe he could reach it again. The orb zipped past with a sound like slicing air. Evan jerked the rifle up. but Hale quickly stopped him. Wait, don't chase it. Let it come to you. Vornek watched them with curiosity. The way Hela guided Evan wasn't tactical, it was natural, almost spiritual. The orb looped around the base, changing speed, diving between buildings and rising again like a spark of blue lightning. Evan breathed in deeply. He closed his eyes. The world quieted. He opened his eyes, and the movement of the orb finally made sense. Small patterns inside chaos, hints of direction hidden inside its speed. He raised the rifle. Vornek's eyes widened. Hale said nothing. The orb darted left fast. Evan didn't aim where it was. His instinct aimed where it would be. Bang! The shot echoed across the base. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a bright explosion of blue light burst from the orb. The aliens gasped. Humans shouted in shock. A wave of energy rippled outward, making dust rise from the ground. The orb fell. Lifeless. Evan had hit it. On the first try, Vornek staggered backward, stunned. Even his soldiers looked shaken. Impossible. Vornek whispered. Only our finest warriors can hit a hunter orb. Hale placed a hand on Evan's shoulder again. And now you understand, he said quietly. Any human can be a sniper. Evan stood, panting, exhausted, but alive and suddenly aware that he had just done something that would be remembered across galaxies. The test was over, but the consequences were only beginning. The night after the ambush was colder than any the resistance had felt in weeks. Not because of the weather. Pakistan's winter was still a polite chill, but because of the truth that now hung over every survivor. The aliens had learned to adapt. Zaydn sat near the dying campfire, the orange glow etching his face in hard shadows. His steel bow lay across his knees, strings still humming with phantom recoil from today's battle. The world was silent except for the distant drone of alien patrol ships, sweeping the sky with pale blue searchlights that painted the clouds like ghostly wounds. Across from him, Commander Hale paced like a caged tiger. His steel boots thudded against the packed earth, slow, heavy, sharp. He was a wall of muscle wrapped in a tactical suit, but even he couldn't hide the tremor of frustration shaking through his shoulders. They weren't supposed to survive those shots. Hale growled. Those new plates, they absorbed the impact like it was nothing. General Rafik, older, calmer, and far more dangerous in silence, stirred a cup of steaming kawa. Adaptation is inevitable, he murmured. The question is how fast we can adapt them. Sana, the young engineer whose mind worked faster than any machine, adjusted her cracked glasses. Their armor wasn't absorbing, she corrected. It was rebounding force, like turning kinetic energy into harmless light. Zaydn shook his head. No armor is perfect. We hit joints, weak spots. Some still fell. Not enough fell. Hale snapped. The tension around the fire thickened until it felt like a second skin. Every face was lit with the same haunted realization. The aliens were evolving again. And if they didn't evolve too, humanity's brief comeback would crumble. But Zaydn wasn't thinking about defeat, he was thinking about the moment. During the ambush, when he fired an arrow so sharp it cracked an alien's helmet at the seam. When Sana saw it, her eyes widened. When Hallie muttered under his breath, "That's not normal steel." And when Zaydn felt a pulse in the bowstring, like the bow itself wanted blood. The bow that should not exist. Later that night, while the others slept in scattered rings around dying fires, Zaydn walked to the edge of the ravine. The moon cast silver over his bow and arrows, turning them into something mythical. He ran his fingers along the bow's limbs. The steel felt warmer, alive, not at all like metal forged in a ruined workshop 2 weeks ago. Every shot he'd fired today had felt easier, faster, more natural. As if something beneath the surface guided the arrow. It didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like a partner. "You're awake, too," Sana's voice whispered from behind. Zaydn didn't flinch, couldn't sleep. She came closer, hugging her jacket against the cold. "You felt it too, didn't you?" He looked at her. "Felt what? About? It's not just reacting. It's resonating." Her gaze softened with a strange blend of fear and fascination. "When I analyzed the fragments you used during forging," she said quietly, "I found traces of alien alloy mixed with the steel." Zaydn froze. "You didn't tell anyone?" "Not yet." He exhaled sharply, saying, "That alloy came from a battlefield. It shouldn't bond with human steel." "I know. How did it fuse?" "I don't know." "How is my bow reacting?" "I don't know that either." "What do you know?" She swallowed hard. "That your bow might be the first hybrid weapon we've ever made. Part human craftsmanship, part alien material." Zaydn looked back at the steel limbs glowing under the moon. "A hybrid. Unintentional. Impossible. Dangerous, but also necessary." "Do not tell Hal," he said. Sana looked offended. "Why not?" "Because he'll take it away, dissect it, try to replicate it before understanding the risk. And you understand the risk." "I understand one thing," he said, gripping the bow tighter, "that aliens keep evolving. We need something they don't expect." Sana hesitated. A long, heavy breath filled the space between them. "Okay," she whispered at last. "But if your bow is changing, then you might be changing too." Zaydn's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "The bow only reacted when you held it," she said. "Not when Hale touched it. Not when I examined it. Only for you." She stepped closer, voice trembling. What if it bonded to you? Zayden felt the chill deeper than winter. But before he could answer, a sharp whistle echoed across the ravine. Alien patrol. Lights sweeping like furious comets. Sana grabbed him. Come on. They sprinted back toward the camp just as blue beams scorched the sky overhead. Drones descended, their metallic wings unfurling like nightmarish birds. Sirens screamed from the resistance base. Soldiers spilled from tents. Hale barked orders. Rafik rallied defenses. Zayden notched an arrow instinctively, the string humming, but something was different. He felt heat rising through the grip. The alloy pulsed. Colors rippled along the arrow shaft as vision sharpened unnaturally. He drew the bow back and the world slowed. Wind froze mid-gust. Dust hung in the air like floating stars. Drones moved at the speed of drifting leaves. Zayden inhaled, then released. The arrow tore through the night with a hiss like ripping space. It struck a drone and, instead of piercing it, collapsed its internal energy core. An explosion lit the sky blue-white. Everyone stared. Halle whispered, "What in God's name was that?" Sana's eyes widened in horror and awe. Your arrow absorbed their energy. As the drones regrouped, as soldiers braced for a second wave, as Halle tried to understand the impossible, Zayden looked at his bow and felt it pulse again. Not like a machine, not like metal, like a heartbeat, and he finally understood. His bow wasn't adapting, that it was awakening. The battlefield was still trembling from the collapsed drone when the second wave descended, this time larger, darker, angrier. Their engines shook the clouds like rolling thunder, and their blue searchlights burned brighter, as if the aliens themselves sensed something had changed below. What they didn't know is that everything had changed. Zayden stood at the center of the chaos, his bow still humming with the strange afterglow of the last shot. His fingertips tingled with energy he didn't understand, raw, electric, and alive. It was like holding a storm by its throat. Commander Hale stormed toward him, rage and disbelief written across his scarred face. What did you fire? Hale demanded. I've seen steel arrows crack armor, but that whatever that was wasn't human. Before Zayden could answer, General Rafik lifted a hand. Hey, later. Incoming. The drones screeched, dropping in formation 6 units, their wings slicing the air with mechanical precision. From beneath their bellies, coil cannons unfolded, glowing with deadly blue plasma. Zayden stepped forward without thinking. Rafik grabbed his shoulder. Zayden, we fight together. But Zayden didn't feel alone. Not anymore. The bow pulsed in his grip, sending warmth up his arm, into his chest, and settling into his heartbeat. It felt like the weapon was whispering something, not with words, but with intention. Draw, aim, release. Sana reached him, breathless. Zayden, stop. You don't know what that energy did to you. Then I guess I'll find out. A blinding beam fired from the nearest drone, searing through the earth where he had been standing a moment earlier. He rolled, quick as instinct, and came up in a crouch. The world blurred again, not slow like before, not frozen, just clearer. Every drone's angle, every weak point, every ripple in the air from their engines. He felt them all. Zaydn knocked another arrow, and drew, and the bow responded. Steel ripples glowed along the limbs, hand-carved engravings from the forge illuminating like molten lines. The arrowhead burned with soft gold light, as if waking from a deep slumber. Sana gasped. Zayden, your bow is channeling energy again. Hale stared in disbelief. How in God's name is it doing that? Zayden's voice was steady. It's reacting to them. The drone shot forward. Zaydn released, and the arrow split into 3 mid-flight, not by magic, not by trickery, by resonance. The alien alloy at its core vibrated so intensely it fractured into perfectly symmetrical pieces, each piece humming with directed force. Like guided missiles, they arced upward and hit 3 drones simultaneously. Boom, boom, boom. 3 explosions thundered across the sky. Burning shards spiraled down like metallic rain. Rafik breathed out slowly. I believe we have just witnessed the impossible, but the fight wasn't over. 2 drones remained, and these were different. Heavier, their armor gleamed black instead of silver-coated in a reflective layer that absorbed light like a living shadow. Hale cursed. Black sentinels. They only send those when something threatens their command chain. Meaning Zayden, meaning his bow, meaning humanity had just stepped into territory the aliens never expected, creating something outside their calculations. The black sentinels descended at lethal speed, engines screaming like tortured metal. Their cannons charged in unison, building twin orbs of blue fire. Rafik shouted, evade. But they weren't targeting the soldiers, they were targeting Zayden. He could feel their focus like burning eyes. The bow thrummed in warning. Move. Zaydn ran, dodging between broken crates, burned out vehicles, and defensive barricades. Plasma blasts scorched the air behind him. Zayden, Sana screamed. He turned sharply and fired another shot. But this time the arrow fizzled. No light, no pulse, no split. Just ordinary steel. It bounced off the black sentinel's armor like a pebble. Stomach tightened. The bow was draining, resonance burning through energy faster than he could match. He tried to draw again. Nothing. The bow felt cold for the first time since the forge. Sana reached him, skidding beside him behind a ruined transport truck. Zayden, the energy is unstable. You need to slow down your body. Can't keep up with whatever the bow is doing. He grimaced. I don't get to slow down. Not with those things hunting me. Hale and Rafik opened fire with explosive tipped arrows and improvised launchers, but the black sentinels barely flinched. Their armor absorbed everything. Zayden peeked out and saw the drones lining up for a synchronized strike. 2 beams, 2 angles, 1 target. Him. The bow trembled in his hands. Not cold, not drained. Convulsing. Alive. Sana saw it too. Zayden, it's trying to pull energy from you again. His heartbeat hammered. He felt heat rising from his chest into the bow grip. His vision sharpened again. A low vibration resonated through his bones. Sana realized it with horror. It's syncing with your heartbeat. Zayden closed his eyes. Then sync. He drew. The bow resisted, then yielded. Like bending the will of a living creature. The arrow flickered with unstable gold light. Sparks danced along its edges. The energy was too loud, too wild, too alive. Zayden, stop. Sana pleaded. If that overloads, he opened his eyes. I trust it. The drones fired. Zayden released. The arrow did not fly. It detonated midair without shrapnel, without flam expending into a massive shockwave of golden resonance that rippled outward like a silent scream. The blast tore through the plasma beams, unraveling their energy like string. It struck both black sentinels with unstoppable force. Their armor buckled, their cores collapsed inward, and both machines fell like broken towers. Silence. Not peace. Shock. The camp stared at Zaydn. Hal took a step back, whispering, that wasn't a weapon strike. That was energy manipulation. Rafik's eyes narrowed. Zayden is not just wielding that bow. He's becoming part of it. Sana grabbed Zayden's hand, terrified. Your heartbeat is still resonating at the same frequency as the bow. Zayden swallowed hard, because for the first time, he felt something inside him pulsing back. Not human, not alien, something between something new. Something the aliens had never prepared for, and deep in the sky, far above the battlefield, a distant tremor echoed through the mothership as if something ancient had awakened in response. The battlefield was finally quiet. Smoke drifted through the ruined camp in slow waves, and the smell of metal, dust, and burnt plasma hung in the air. For a moment, no one spoke. Soldiers simply stared at Zayden, as if he were someone else, someone they no longer fully understood. Zayden himself felt strange. His hands shook softly, not from fear, but from the echo of power that had passed through him. His heartbeat was still too loud, too sharp, each beat making the bow vibrate like an animal waking from sleep. Sana rushed to him first, placing a hand on his arm. Zayden, are you okay? Your pulse. It's not normal. Zayden tried to speak, but his voice came out rough. I felt something. The bow wasn't just using me. It was communicating. Hel stepped forward, helmet under his arm, staring at Zayden like he was a puzzle piece that did not fit anywhere. Communicating. Boy, weapons don't communicate. They obey. General Rafik disagreed softly. Not this one. His eyes were locked on the golden cracks of energy still glowing across the bow's limbs. They flickered like veins full of light. Rafik turned slowly toward the sky, and someone else noticed. Everyone followed his gaze. High above the clouds, a ripple formed in the sky, a long tremor of blue light stretching from horizon to horizon. It moved, like a pulse, like a signal. Something massive was shifting above the atmosphere. Sana whispered. That's coming from the alien mothership. Hale's jaw tightened. They're scanning us, or scanning him. More tremors followed, each wave stronger and colder, shaking loose dust from the ruins, making loose metal vibrate around them. Zaydn felt the waves inside his bones. Every pulse from the sky matched a soft vibration in the bow. One for one, beat for beat. The connection terrified him. Rafik touched the bow lightly. Whatever the aliens used to build their technology, your bow is waking something similar. Zayden swallowed. General, I think the aliens are calling to it. Before Rafik could answer, the ground shook. A deep, rolling tremor passed under their feet. Everyone braced, hands on weapons, scanning the sky. But the threat didn't come from above. It came from the east, from the old canyon region. A soft rumble echoed across the fields, growing louder, heavier, like something huge was dragging its weight across stone. A faint red glow rose from the distant ridges, pulsing in rhythm with the tremors from the sky. Sana stepped closer to Zayden. That's not normal. That wasn't happening before you changed. Hale nodded. Something big is waking up, and it's tracking the same signal. 2 signals, Rafik corrected. One from the aliens, one from the Earth. Zayden frowned. Earth? Rafik nodded slowly. The bow wasn't made with alien metal alone. You forged it with or found deep under the mountains, or we've never fully understood. We thought it was just rare iron. Maybe it wasn't. Zayden stared at the glowing cracks in the bow again. What are you saying, General? Rafik exhaled. You didn't just forge a bow. You woke a sleeping material. Something ancient. Something alive. Another tremor shook the ground. stronger this time. The distant canyon glowed brighter. The soldiers exchanged nervous looks. Sena turned to Zayden with wide eyes. Is it trying to reach you? Zayden opened his mouth to answer, but froze, because the bow suddenly grew warm in his hands. Not just warm. Burning golden light began stretching from the bow into his arms again, threading through his skin like soft lightning. Sena grabbed his shoulders. Zayden, drop it. But he couldn't. His fingers felt locked. The bow pulsed again. Thump. Zayden's chest echoed it. Thump. Another. Tremor rolled from the canyon. Thump. The alien mothership sent another sky pulse. All three rhythms started aligning, syncing like a single heartbeat across three worlds. Rafiq's eyes widened in fear. This isn't just technology. It's a signal bridge. Hale stepped back. What does that mean? It means, Rafiq said quietly, Zayden is standing at the center of something global. Zayden felt the bow pulling, not physically, something deeper, like a voice whispering inside him without words, calling him, summoning him, pulling him toward the canyon. He swallowed hard. It wants me to go east. Sena's face twisted with fear. No, Zayden, that can't be good. What if it's a trap? What if the aliens planned this? Hale growled, or that thing in the canyon did. Rafiq looked between Zayden and the distant glow. Something is responding to him, and it might be the only thing the aliens are afraid of. The sky rumble grew louder. The mothership was descending lower, clouds splitting around its enormous shape. Hale cursed. They're deploying an armada. Dozens of dark shapes fell from the mothership, dropships, drones, armored units, all heading toward the canyon. Not toward the soldiers, not toward the base, toward the same place the bow was calling Zayden. Rafiq's voice hardened. Zayden, whatever is in that canyon, the aliens want it destroyed before you reach it. Zayden's heartbeat matched the bow again, steady, heavy, growing brighter with each pulse. He took a breath. I think it wants me to stop them. Sena shook her head. Zayden, you're not ready. You barely survived that last shot. Zayden looked at her with steady eyes. I wasn't ready then, but I think this power, whatever it is, doesn't come from skill. It comes from connection, from purpose. Rafiq placed a hand on his shoulder. Then you won't go alone. We move as a unit. But Zayden, only you can activate whatever lies in that canyon. Hale checked his weapons. Then we better hurry. Those alien ships aren't slowing down. Zayden looked east, the red glow pulsing like a waiting heartbeat. The bow warmed. Again, calling him. He took his first step toward the canyon. And the world seemed to hold its breath.